This was a busy week in the world of AI. I'll show you how you can now remove watermarks from images and videos generated by Gemini. There are expanded features for notebooks. ChatGPT quietly rolled out a really cool tool that for some reason no one's talking about, along with some very dystopic features that I don't know if even I feel comfortable testing. I'll show you what those are though, along with all the other AI news in this week's weekly AI news recap. My name is Paul J. Lipsky, and every week I make a video just like this one where I talk about the AI news that regular people actually care about. So if that interests you, make sure to subscribe, and now let's get to the news. We'll start with some really good news from Gemini. Up until now, if you generated any images or videos with Gemini, they probably had this watermark on the bottom right-hand corner. Well, that's changing right now. Gemini is rolling out a new setting that lets you decide whether your images, videos, and music carry this watermark. So here, for instance, on my free Gemini plan, I asked it to create this image for me, and there's no watermark. Now, interestingly, Google has said that this should be a setting that we can toggle on or off. I don't see that anywhere. It's just off for me, and it's not creating any images with watermarks. And I don't know who would turn it on, but allegedly there's supposed to be a setting somewhere at some point where if you wanted to, you could turn it back on. Importantly though, this does not remove Google's invisible watermark, which is called Synth ID. Those will remain embedded in the image, but the visual watermarks will be removed. So if you download this image and then upload it back into Gemini and ask, is this AI generated or does this have a Synth ID? It will be able to detect that, and that will let you know that it was generated or at least edited with AI. So that's not changing, but those visual watermarks on the bottom right-hand corner, those are what's going away. And this is a good thing. No one else does this, and it's about time that Gemini finally caught up. Now, if you're a student, I also have some more good news from Gemini. Starting this week, students in the United States can claim 1 year of Google AI Pro at no cost. That's normally $20 a month. And that includes a lot of benefits. You get Gemini, Gemini Spark, Gemini inside Gmail, 5 terabytes of storage, and Google Health Premium, all for free. If you want to grab that deal and you are a student, you can just come over to this URL right here, one.google.com/AI student. And right here, you see it is $0 a month. If you're not a student, I wouldn't suggest you even try to grab this deal because they have some sort of verification to make sure you actually are a student. If you're outside the United States, you can claim instead 1 year of Google AI Plus at no cost. Google is also rolling out a new feature called Student Hub, where Gemini will collect all of its different learning tools in one place to make it easier to study for your classes. I don't know exactly what this will include or how to access this because I don't have it yet. But what we do already have access to are study notebooks. And most people don't know about these, even if they are familiar with notebooks and Notebook LM or Gemini Notebook as it's now called. But here inside of Gemini, over here on the left under notebooks, these show you all of your Gemini notebooks here inside of Gemini. But if you click on New Notebook from within Gemini, you will see an option here for a regular notebook, which is organize your ideas. And they have this new one called Study and Learn. And you can set up these notebooks as a learning guide that will quiz you and keep track of your progress. Here, for instance, I created one for an AP physics class. And if you scroll down here, the first thing you can do is personalize your learning by taking a diagnostic quiz. This will kind of get a baseline for how much you already know. And then based on that, it will give you these different study guides. You can read through the material. It gives you diagrams sometimes. And then you can come down here to take a quiz based on that lesson. So you can make sure that you're actually learning and retaining that information. And then if you go back to the notebook, you can get re-quizzed on these topics over and over again to make sure that they actually stick. I think it's a very, very useful tool for anyone who's a student. I'm sure that's going to make up a large part of that new Student Hub. So yeah, if you're a student, definitely take advantage of the fact that this is going to be free for you, and it's going to include a ton of resources to help you stay on top of your studies. Before we get to the rest of the AI news, let's take a quick break to hear from today's sponsor, CodeRabbit. These days, anyone can vibe code an app using AI, but how do you actually know if there are problems with it? As someone who has never written a single line of code manually in my life, I need a tool that explains the code to me and looks for any issues with it. That's where CodeRabbit comes in. It's an AI code review agent that looks at all of the changes that were made to the code, summarizes them, and then suggests how I can improve my app. CodeRabbit's new change stack makes those changes easier to follow. It groups files into logical cohorts and dependency-aware layers instead of listing them alphabetically, so I can understand what changed, why, and how the pieces fit together. The overview puts the summary, blockers with one-click fixes, reviews, and comments in one place. Timeline shows how the pull request reached its current state, while semantic diff removes formatting and moved code noise. Using agentic chat, I can even ask it to explain the code to me in a way that a non-coder would understand. If you're like me and you love to vibe code, but want another set of eyes before you ship, then you need to check out CodeRabbit. The link for it is in the description down below. And now back to the news. Okay, we're not done with the news from Google yet. Last week, I told you that Google had released their newest model, Gemini 3.7 Flash. At the time though, it was only available inside of certain tools like Google Spark, but it is just rolled out to more tools, including directly inside of Gemini. So now inside of Gemini, as long as you have a Pro or Ultra account, you can select 3.7 Flash. 3.7 Flash also now powers AI mode inside of Google Search, and it's available inside of Google Workspace tools like Sheets. And that's consistent with the way Google has been running things. They use Flash to power all of their Google AI tools across their ecosystem, not just inside of Gemini. And since it's currently their most powerful model, that's actually pretty nice. And you can be strategic about this. As I'm sure you know, Gemini has usage limits, but certain things don't count against that usage limit, including AI mode inside of Google Search and Gemini Notebook. So the more that you can use those tools, the further your Gemini subscription is going to go. Speaking of Google Search, it looks like Google Search is adding notebooks, like the notebooks from Notebook LM. So check this out. Here's Google Search, and you can see over here on the left, he's opening up the left side panel, and you'll see your notebooks in here. It's similar to Gemini, where you can only see 2 notebooks here, and then you can add a new one, but this is inside of Search. So when you select a new notebook, you can name it in here. So this again looks very similar to how you create notebooks inside of Gemini. Select an icon for it, add sources. So yeah, it just looks like the same thing you can do in Gemini, but brought into Search, kind of unifying the whole experience. I don't have this yet. I'm very curious how this will work. I'm assuming it syncs between all 3, Gemini Notebook, Gemini, and now Search. But I'm not really sure what this brings to the table, how this is going to help Search, and how this is going to help improve the notebooks that we already have. Maybe it saves all the searches inside the notebooks. I'm not quite sure. I'm very curious, and we'll definitely be trying it when it comes out, and I'll let you guys know what I think of it. And the final announcement from Google is that Gemini Live will now be able to kick off deep research. I love this. The more capabilities we can bring to voice or live, the better in my opinion. I use it for everything now as much as I can because it just feels like such a natural way to interact with AI. So Gemini Live is coming, or deep research is coming to Gemini Live. You can ask it to look something up for you, do some research for you. You can then lock your phone or switch tasks and it'll work in the background and you'll get notified when it's done. Let's move on now to OpenAI and talk about all the updates to ChatGPT that are actually important. There are 2 big announcements I want to cover. First was something that they quietly released this past week. They didn't make a big deal out of it at all, but I think it's really cool and I think it deserves more attention. So check this out. Currently, this is unfortunately only available inside the ChatGPT web app. But now if you click on the left here where it says library, you're going to see a new section here called Google Drive, assuming you've already connected up your Google Drive inside of plugins. But once you do that, you'll see Google Drive here. You can click on it and you can see all of the files you have inside of Google Drive. Your docs, your sheets, what else? PDFs that you have uploaded in there. This is even a video I have in there. And what's really neat is if you click on any of these, it will open it up inside of ChatGPT. Look over here on the left. This is still ChatGPT, but inside of ChatGPT is Google Drive. And this has all the same capabilities of Google Docs. So I can edit anything in here. I can add new stuff. I can format any of it. It's exactly the same way it works natively inside of Google Docs. But because it's inside of ChatGPT, you can ask ChatGPT to help you with this document or whatever you have open by coming down here to ChatGPT. So I could just say, for instance, for this example, I'll say, format this to make it look nicer. Don't change any of the text. That then opens up that request inside a new chat. Okay, and I want to keep this honest. We ran into an issue here. This didn't happen when I tested it before, but first it got totally stuck and I had to stop it and reprompt it to try again. And now, instead of editing that document, which it didn't when I tested it before, it created a Word version of it, which is not what I wanted at all. So let's try this again. We're going to try the other method though. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to come over here on the top left and click on New Chat. And this time, I'm going to type in the @ symbol and just type in the name of the document. This works too. If you type in the name of the Google Doc, for instance, it will show up right here without you having to go to the library section first. So with that now typed in, I can click on it and that will open it up in this side panel on the right. So now I can be chatting with ChatGPT here while working on the document on the right. And let's try this again. I'll just tell it to edit my Google Doc. Don't change any of the words, but I want you to make the formatting look nicer here in the doc. And there we go. Now, this probably wasn't the best example because it was already so well formatted, but this just proves that, yeah, it can read what's inside of Google Drive and make changes to things like docs. I don't know. I think that's pretty cool. Instead of having two windows open side by side, one with ChatGPT and one with Google Drive, or having to switch back and forth, it can all be within ChatGPT. I think that's pretty neat. I would love to see this in the desktop app and for more applications, maybe Notion or somehow Obsidian on the desktop. That would be awesome. The second announcement from OpenAI that I want to talk about is a feature they're calling computer history. If you choose to turn computer history on, then ChatGPT will create memories and a timeline of everything that you do on your computer to better help you with future tasks. So if we come over to the ChatGPT desktop app and you come into the settings, over here on the left is a setting for computer history. And if you want, you can turn this on. As you see, I've not turned mine on, and we'll talk about that in a second. But once you have it on, it will begin keeping a memory timeline of things you're doing on your computer. So here's an example of one. This user at 9:20 in the morning, they reviewed their launch plan, they checked the implementation, and they gathered feedback before updating the documentation. That was the memory that was recorded, and you can see which apps were used for that. Then at 9:10, they reviewed the project feedback, and they used Chrome, ChatGPT, and Slack for that. And down here, they organized their work for the day using ChatGPT, VS Code, and Terminal. So what is the point of this? Well, here are some examples. So let's say you ask ChatGPT, what was I working on before my last break? ChatGPT will normally say, I don't know. But with computer history on, it will check the computer history and say, oh, you were revising a launch presentation. Or if you ask it, what was that planning document I was looking at today? Normally ChatGPT will say, I need more detail. But with computer history on, it will say you were reviewing the Q1 launch plan in Google Docs. And here's another example. If you just, let's say, uploaded a video to YouTube and you asked ChatGPT, or you told ChatGPT, I just uploaded my video, make a skill for next time, it will say, well, let me know what steps you followed. But with computer history on, it will actually be able to see what you did for uploading that video and turn that into a skill that it can then reuse in the future. Now, I'm not 100% sure how useful this actually is, and I'm not going to be doing a demo for you because this is something I don't feel comfortable using yet. Obviously, I feel comfortable using a lot of different AI tools, but I do have a limit. I'm not quite sure where that limit is, but this one, I feel like it does cross the line for me. I just don't feel comfortable with this yet, so I'm not going to use it. I'm probably being a little overcautious here. It's probably fine, but I also don't see an overwhelming need for this right now when all the tools I already use work so well, and it's pretty easy for me to just describe to ChatGPT what I've been up to when I need to catch it up on the work I'm doing. I may change my mind on that in the future, but for now, I'm leaving this one toggled off. All right, we can move on from OpenAI now and talk about a couple of things that Anthropic has been up to. First, they announced that Claude Cowork is now available on mobile and the web for all paid users. If you're not caught up on this, originally Claude Cowork was only available on the Claude desktop app. However, recently they made it more web-based. So if I come to Claude.ai here, inside of Claude, I can select Cowork. And this was only available on the more expensive plans at first, but it has been rolling out and is now available on all paid plans. Now, Cowork in the cloud is a little bit confusing because not all features are available in the cloud compared to the desktop app, which can run locally. Again, it can be a little bit confusing, so I've made an entire video on that right here. I'll also remind you about it at the end and link it up at the end so you can figure out the difference between cloud-based tasks and local tasks with Claude Cowork. The second announcement from Anthropic is that Claude can now send emails in Gmail for you and manage files in Google Drive. And this is what that looks like here. Now, why this has me scratching my head is because I thought we could already do this inside of Claude. For instance, right here, I asked it to draft an email for me. It drafted that email here. It actually gave me 3 different choices. And from this dropdown, I can send this message via Gmail, or I can open it up inside of Mail. But this isn't the same UI as this. So I don't think I have the new rollout of this feature yet. But yet I can still send emails. So this announcement made it seem like Claude couldn't do this before, and I'm pretty sure it could do that before. But anyway, just a heads up that now the integration between Claude and Gmail looks like it's going to get a lot stronger, and that's also going to include Google Drive. Let's end the week with some rapid fire news stories. So first, have you guys seen this video of the new AirPods that leaked? We've known for a while that the new AirPods are going to contain tiny cameras in them, not for taking videos or images, but for visual intelligence, Apple's AI. This is the first time we've seen them. I don't know how this video got leaked, but it did. And in this demo, the guy's looking at the book and saying something like, "Remind me of this later." The little cameras see the book he's looking at and add that to his reminders or whatever it's doing in the background. So this is the first time we've seen these in action. Now, I am very interested in the AI wearable space and where it's headed, but the biggest problem I see is adoption and comfort for people to use AI wearables. It has to come from a company that they trust and implement it in a way that feels like they can trust it. Having a camera on glasses is not something that people trust, obviously. But inside of AirPods, something that people already wear every day, and utilize in a way where you cannot take photos or videos with it, it can only be used for visual intelligence, this may finally be a form factor that people are willing to adopt. Next, we have a bunch of quick stories about ChatGPT. So first, ChatGPT released ChatGPT Teens. This is specifically built for learning, and there's a lot of protections built in. Like if they try to go off track from their studies, it will bring them back to their studies. There's a lot of parental controls. So if you have a teen and you want them to be able to use AI tools and to learn how to use them, check out ChatGPT Teens. OpenAI has also released an Apple Messages plugin for the ChatGPT desktop app. This will allow ChatGPT to search messages, catch up on conversations, draft and send replies, all from within ChatGPT. I think there are a lot of useful use cases and capabilities that this unlocks. However, once again, this is one of those areas where I don't feel comfortable with this. I have a lot of private messages on iMessage, and I don't want an AI looking through all those. So this is another one that I am not going to be using. OpenAI has also announced that you can add teammates as editors to your ChatGPT sites. Sites is a way that you can quickly build websites using ChatGPT. I've made an entire video about it before. I'll have that linked in the description down below if you want to check it out, and all the things you can create with ChatGPT sites, because I found it to be incredibly useful. But now you can invite a teammate to edit the site as well. And finally, we'll end with some slightly humorous news, or I at least thought it was funny. There's this guy representing himself in a Connecticut court, and he made an official filing with the court. And inside of it, he hid a prompt injection. So written in tiny white letters that humans wouldn't be able to see were instructions telling any AI that was reviewing the document to side with him in the case. Obviously, this didn't work for a number of reasons. One being that a court isn't going to be relying on AI for writing its decisions, or at least I hope not. So obviously this failed, but I don't know. I thought this was pretty funny and pretty bold that he actually tried that. So there we go. That's all the AI news from the past week that I thought actually mattered. If you enjoyed this and you want to make sure that every week you get notified about my newest weekly AI news recap where I cover topics just like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell notification. In the meantime, though, you can check out this video right here. This is the one I mentioned before where I talk about Claude Cowork and how it works in the cloud versus locally. So if you're a little bit confused about that or just want to learn more about Claude Cowork, check out this video right here, and I'll see you over there in 1 second. Bye for now.